Well, gotta get this out of the way. An early start to the morning this morning. We have all the babies to go today, 3-year-olds to go today. I have to get done as early as I can and head over to Ohio. I'm in race 2 and race 14 tonight. We have all the babies to video for you tomorrow. Now we'll have the videos for today up for the many of you that obviously that follow along. We can't do the videos live at First Line Training Center. The Wi-Fi is just horrid there, and it's just where the property is. Let's get the bad news out of the way. We had a terrible start to the week. I found out yesterday that our May 14th open house can't happen at Mohawk. We're trying to potentially move it to another location, and if we have to stay at First Line, we will. But again, we're faced with hurdles such as Wi-Fi, such as line of sight. So not ideal, not what we were planning, but we're going to pivot and do the best we can to come up with a better idea. The one on the 13th is still a go and is tabled to move forward. That one is at Northfield Park. So we will we'll work throughout the day to try and figure out a workaround for what has been a bit of depressing news to start the week. And it's been a depressing start to the week. Sister Solange is the only one that made any money yesterday, and it wasn't a lot. Finished 4th. You know, I saw this from her last year, but in the middle of the year, we're trying to get her sorted away so that, you know, she comes back to life. She's qualified in 58, looked pretty good doing it. You know, and this goes back to exactly what I'm saying. When I tell you guys we always try and put the horses in the right place, that doesn't mean we always do. And it's frustrating to me when you think that, you know, you're executing a pretty good plan and it turns out to just blow up in your face. Now, it turned out that Sister Solange's GGT, which, by the way, Horn Players was high the other day too, so more bad news to start the week. She's Indigo Thursday. We've the vet's been looking at her, and really the only thing you can do is run some liver flush through her, which is just an oral stuff you buy at the tack shop. Some milk thistle, lots of fluids. So that's what we've been doing with her. Now the GGT on her was much lower than Sister Solange's, but still over the high normal limit. So again, it seems like we go from, there's a new season, at least in horse racing for us the last 2 years. We go from fall to winter to high liver season. We've had about 6 of them so far since the warmer weather hit. And it's become very frustrating, but it is something we're dealing with and we're going to continue to deal with. We're going to try and get out in front of it with some other horses where I've seen them creep up a little bit. Rather than wait until they get high, we're going to start them on the pills we bought last year. A number of people had emailed me asking what they were. It's a long word. We buy them off the internet, and they're for this particular issue. There's nothing in the pills that test, so there's no issues in that regard. So, Sister Solange, trying to get that GGT down and got away 3rd. It's hard to tell a driver when you're 6 to 5, don't move the horse, right? But I'm trying to yell at the TV because I could see him almost moving her. Just stay in. Just stay in. Ended up coming out. She didn't really do any damage because she never trotted a step forward. Back in the 3-hole and then held her own to the wire, finishing 4th. Not what you would call a very optimistic chart line or race, but at the same time, knowing what she's going through going in, I'll give her a little bit of a berth. I wish she was doing this at Northfield or the Meadows. Northfield, where she was under our care. And that's not to take anything away from Megan, but we're paying Megan to train her to race in Monticello in the maidens. But, you know, that ship has sailed, so to speak. I want to see her continue to move forward. Obviously, although it was not a great line and a great mile, it was a step forward, and I've seen the pictures of the filly. If nothing else, Megan is doing a great job putting the weight on her. And truthfully, we will chip away at the issues she has moving forward, but her biggest issue was her weight. And Megan is definitely addressing that and getting weight back on her. So that's a good thing. Horn Player, as I said, that GGT wasn't too high, more than high enough to explain her not the break, but her kind of flat line the other day. Now, hopefully, is 3 days enough to help it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. My inside voice is quietly telling me, no, it's not. You know it's not. But some horses can push through with it. I guess we're going to see. Put it this way. It's not high enough to scratch her. I guess that's the ultimate deciding factor. That's the one thing I will tell you. It's not high enough to scratch her. I was there last night. The veterinarian blew through there at 4:30, which Angelica's tough. I'll tell you one thing. She's there in the morning. She's there at night before she goes home. And I'm not just talking about our burn, but that training center in general. So thankfully she was there. Ran some fluids through her and some lipotropes. For those of you that are horsemen, you know what I'm talking about with the livers. And she ate all her supper and seemed really, really good. So we'll see. Can you eat more of your breakfast, please? So she seems... her spirits seem up. So we'll see how she does on Thursday. And then we got the Mohawk. Super hopeful night. Yeah, you can have... Your water's right... Where's your water at, honey? There you go, honey. You know... No, you finish the old one first, then you can have the new one. So, a really hopeful night, right? We had Unbeatable Kemp picked to win again. We had White Tiger picked to win off the rail. We had Locatelli at 4 or 5 to 1. I think he went off at 7 or 8 to 1. A good night at the track we were hoping for. And And just the opposite. We had Unbeatable Kemp. So let me break down what took place last night. We'll just start from the first one. Unbeatable Kemp. James tried to drag him back to 7th, and he was angry because he made a break. James was angry because he made a break. He thought he'd no reason to. And he doesn't. You know, he's got a few little issues. His knees are bothering him a little bit, but not horribly. I think it was more of an anger thing last night. And as I said to James, let the horse trot forward. You can't put him on the front, but that doesn't mean you sit 7th with him. I think if you just float over and get him in 4th or 5th, yeah, it's not an ideal spot to be, because now you're either first over, second over, or pinned in, pretty much. So I understand what James was trying to do, but you can't do it with that guy. You see him, last week he was throwing his head. I believe what they'd found was the snake cord was a little bit shorter. We had bought some new snake cords for him, and he wears one. It was a little bit shorter. Was it bothering him? Possibly. We had the longer one back on him last night, but I think the throwing his head a little bit, if you watch closely going into the first turn, was more anger than the snake cord. And I think he just made a break because he was angry, to be honest. He got right to the turn where he would have to switch his leads and transition into the turn, whether he's fluid or otherwise, and he couldn't. He didn't want to. He made a break. So I'm going to call that an angry break, and I know a lot of people, a couple of my partners said last night, can you drive him? And I would have. But next Monday is the first, Adeline, next Monday is the first leg of the Hackett at Miami Valley, and I won't be here. So, sadly, we're still stuck with the leading driver in Canada, and I know this particular horse he hasn't got along with well in the short time that he's been back to the races, but that's not completely on James either. The horse is going through, Adeline, the horse is going through some things that we're working on. Nothing that I don't believe we can't manage, because we have, sweetheart. Shh. Nothing that we can't manage because we have, but it is there, and it is something we are dealing with. Now, White Tiger, we bought brand new elbow boots. So the reason we bought brand new elbow boots is we wanted a bigger set on him, because he was still touching right up underneath the cup of the elbow boot. So when I went to Big D's the other day, we asked for a larger pair, and the pair we got, if anything, was very slightly bigger, and I mean slightly bigger. And I wish we had bigger ones, but they didn't have them in stock. Elbow boots are not a common harness, part of harness that is purchased. Don't use them a whole lot anymore. If you guys notice that pair of boots that sits on his elbows, you don't see them very often with trotters. And Tiger still touched underneath them last night. Now, that's twofold. The first thing is, yeah, he hit it. Yes, he's made that break in that point before. I'm almost certain it's because he was touching his elbow. But yes, you can. But the second part to that issue is, why is he hitting his elbow hard enough that it's making him make a break? Now, he's done it before. You guys have seen him make breaks in that place before, but not for a bit. So, two things. That's going to go over him today. He had one ankle that bothered him last year. Does that need a little touch-up again? Are his feet hurting him a little bit? We're going to check them. We're going to give him a full check over today when Dr. Bosenjack shows up at the barn. Secondly, I did last night, thankfully, the lady that I have a connection with at Big D's tax shop answered my text at 9 o'clock at night, right after he made a break, and I saw the boots. They were scuffed up pretty good that he wore last night. I said, hey, I got a trotter doing this to his elbow boots. These were brand new before this picture. Could you order those leather, the white leather ones that are a little bit bigger? She said, yes. How much bigger? I said, well, here's where he hit. I showed her the picture of where he hit. Here's what he's hitting. I need something that'll cover that. So hopefully they'll be there on Thursday and we'll have them back for Monday. So between getting the vet work done on White Tiger and putting a different set of elbow boots on him, I believe we can mitigate what we saw last night. The good news is it didn't seem to me like he had any sort of power outage. It would have been tough to beat Perfetto, I think, off that trip. It would have been very tough to beat Perfetto off that trip.
Oh, I thought it was Perfecto.
No, it's Perfetto.
Nice to see you starting right at 8 o'clock.
I've been here for 4 minutes doing a video. You've been eating a blueberry muffin. Go get your work done.
Hey, what are you doing, Addy?
Curtis is here. And then we saw Locatelli race.
Is that a BioSteel also?
I did not talk to... I did. Can everybody talk a little bit louder? No, it's all right.
Video.
Yeah.
Shooting a video. Just let everybody know you're at least 4 minits late.
It's
right now.
8:02, Curtis.
No,
8:02. It's 8:02.
On your wrong clock.
On my wrong clock, the GM. Okay.
Yeah.
My wrong
It's
clock.
8:03.
It's 8:02 is what it is. Okay. And I've been here for 5 minutes.
You have been here for
Go
5
get your
minutes.
drone fired up.
Minutes.
And then with Locatelli, I haven't got a chance to talk to James yet, but it looked to me that he just didn't feel like he wanted to step out of the gate. Usually he leaves well from the outside. So for him not to step out of the gate from post 8, I'm going to say that he just didn't feel on top of his game. And James at that point knew with the 7 at 2 to 5 heading to the front and him heading to the back that it was going to end poorly for us last night. So for whatever reason, I haven't got to talk to him yet about Locatelli, but I guess we're just going to have to chalk it up to a bad night. Tiger's brakes can be mitigated quite easily. Good news was he had power last night where he didn't the week before. Unbeatable Kemp, I think he needs to adjust the way he drives him. Yes, I probably would have driven him next Monday had I been here. Unfortunately, I'll speak to James. I know, like this. I hope this doesn't turn into a video between or a talk between brothers where he's angry. And at the end of the day, I think what needs to happen with Kemp, you just need to stop remembering Kemp, right? Stop remembering who Kemp is. So here's what I need you to do. Next week, you're going to drive a Walner, a white-faced Walner. I'm not going to tell you his name. I'm going to tell you that he doesn't like to be driven to the back. He doesn't like to be ripped and taken to the back. He can't race as well on the front end. You need to sit him somewhere between 2 and 5. Fish him out like you always do. Fish him out, weave through, and win. And that's what we're going to do with Kemp next week. And when it comes to Locatelli, for whatever happened last night, I didn't see any mechanical issues. Nothing was reported to me there was any issue with the horse. But knowing James, I know he probably went to let him trot forward. Didn't feel great coming out of the gate. Knew that there was going to be a problem getting in the middle and opted to simply abort and get away last. So I'll bring in any more information I have on any of those horses. I'll bring to you. But obviously a bad night at the office, bad day at the office, bad start to the week. Let's hopefully turn it around tonight with Columbus, and oh my gosh. Anyway, better days ahead. Take care.